Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. On Races of the Worlds today, we're going to discuss an ancient race, referred to as the Grahn. Now, to bring you up to speed in a hurry, the Grahn are more often known in today's world as Minotaurs, or for that matter, in ancient Greece. The reason I call them an ancient race is because they evolved here on Earth. Okay, do they still exist? The answer is yes. In what many people refer to as inner Earth, hollow Earth. There's a number of different names for it that I've heard. But are they still around? Yes. As we've seen in different literature, they are larger than humans. Most of the time they sit around the 7-foot mark plus their horns. Some have been known to make 8 to 9 feet. They are very powerfully built, extreme endurance, and extremely focused. Okay, the term out of sight, out of mind for them doesn't exactly apply because they do have an enhanced sense of smell. Their sight is not great, but their sense of smell and their sense of hearing is something to be worried about. Okay, when they're dealing with supremacy, with personal supremacy, they prefer hand-to-hand combat, hand-to-hand melee weapons. They don't like standing on the outskirts in a personal fight. Okay, they will, like, you'll never find a Grahn assassin. Like, they do not strike without letting people know they're there. Because for them, it really boils down to an issue of, if they're going to beat you, they want you to know that they got beaten by you. If they're going to kill you, then they're going to want other people to know that you got killed by them. Okay, it's a matter of pride for them. Now, we are talking about people that, on average, let's go with the obvious issue. The biggest difference between them, they do have standard hands like people do, 4 fingers, 1 thumb. They've got a light hide. It is hirsute. In other words, it is covered with hair, much like a horse's hair or a cow's hair. Okay, their arms are normal as compared to what humans have, but their knees are reversed, and their feet do end in hooves. Needless to say, they don't wear shoes. That said, when they get running, because of the build of their knees, they can get up to some pretty severe speeds. And if you've wronged them, they will hunt you down. They've been known to track people for days. Okay, it's not a question of out of sight, out of mind. It's a question of, once you wrong them, they will track you down. They don't stop until you kill them. It's that simple. Okay, once in a while you might find one that you can buy off, that you can trade something with for them to actually not kill you or not kill somebody you know. Usually if it's you they're trying to kill, they won't listen long enough for you to buy them off. If you're trying to stop one from killing somebody you know, you might be able to swing a deal, but you can bet it'll be in their favor. Okay, they don't tend to wear heavy armor. They tend to wear the most armor that they tend to wear. Like, they'll wear standard clothing, leather, cloth clothing. Armor is usually a question of weapon satchels, like a bandolier or something to hang a weapon on, or a weapons belt, right? But they tend to prefer heavier weapons. You will not, for instance, find a Grahn fencer, like somebody using a fencing foil. They just won't use them. They're not a good enough weapon. Now, you might find one using a dagger, but of course the reality with a dagger for them is it's about the same as a short sword for you. But they only use that for eating purposes, if you will. Weapons of combat are usually a lot larger, a lot heavier set. Okay. They are set up their society is set up in clans. And each clan is run by a dictator. It's not a question of whether or not you like it. If you don't like the laws that the dictator is laying out, there is an easy way. Well, not easy. There is a way to deal with it. Might is right is their legal system. Okay, it's that simple. If you think you're right, beat the truth out of the person that you think is wrong. Okay, they are very honor bound from the standpoint of, in a legal battle, it literally is a legal battle between two people. Needless to say, we don't have a whole lot of accounting going on. Okay, because they don't tend to sit down. They're not big on discussions. Okay, so patients, much as they're very focused when they've been wronged, when they're trying to do something, they don't have a lot of patience. This results in low artistic ability. They do not have interstellar capability. Heck, they don't even have flight capability. Okay, that would be first and foremost from that standpoint. Yes, I do have notes up here, but that's only because I usually do. Now, with that in mind, okay, they do have a very simple outlook. Okay, from their standpoint, the clans are constantly at war with each other. This is not a peaceful area. Okay, the clans can range anywhere from 3 people to 150. Of course, the reason the clans tend to stay smaller is because you can bet, if you're dealing with a clan of 150, bearing in mind the might is right tendency, you can bet that particular Minotaur running that clan is massive. Okay, because the whole trick to it is somebody challenges them, there are no rules. Okay, it's hand-to-hand, any hand-to-hand weapon you want. No range, you cannot, there is no interference. If you challenge somebody, and this applies to whether you're challenging for leadership of the clan or challenging for ownership of a partner. Yes, they are a very definitive, they are a male-dominated race. Okay, whether people like it or not isn't really relevant, but women, like the women in Grahn society, are literally owned by the men. But this said, okay, they have a very simple philosophy. Treat the women right, and here's the reason. It's great. You can be the dictator. You can say, women do this for me, period. You know, that's just the way it is. Problem is, if you're not being decent to the women, if you're not being decent to the men, they'll challenge you to a fight. It'll be one-on-one. If you're not being decent to the women, even if you own them, they will gang together. And, well, let's face it, one is going to cause a problem. The women also, by the way, do have horns, but they're not trained for combat. However, 30 women that are built like freight trains running over you is still going to make a mess. So they do, much as they are the owners of the women, they do treat them properly. They do take care of them. Okay, so in matters of personal combat, the Grahn do stay focused on hand-to-hand, on close combat. In matters of war, they will take they will use what they need. Sometimes they will resort to ranged, but they tend to resort to ranged in handheld items, i.e., thrown weapons or dropped weapons. Okay, because of their strength, when it comes to combat, like much as humans will bring in battering rams or they'll bring in catapults, Grahn are battering rams. Okay, and they will come in and they will run roughshod, and they have no qualms about it if they're going to war. Okay, now do understand they are very focused in their outlook. Now, do they make their own weapons? Yes, they absolutely do. Okay, But understand, the reason that their weapons are as sharp as they are is because they beat them, and they know how to make weapons, they know how to make edges. But they don't have the patience to make things like firearms, bows. Of course, try making a bow with that kind of strength. They tend to rely on physical weapons. Things you don't get real fancy weaponry. You also don't get fancy armor. This is why the most you'll find in armor is they'll take a small shield, they'll put a couple of bandoliers around it, so you end up with a disc that's like chest-sized, suspended on leather straps. And that's their idea of a chest plate. Okay, of course, you gotta remember, they pride themselves on their physical prowess. So they like their muscles being shown. Okay, human muscle, the idea of muscle beach for humans is more like an Olympia, like the weightlifting championships. Okay, as far as builds go. The Grahn are on the whole a peaceable group. Okay, they do have multiple stomachs, but the reality is the greater majority of their food is carnivorous. They are not cannibals. Okay, but the thing is, because they have 3 stomachs. Okay, and it's not a question of them having, eating a lot. It's a question of they pack their stomachs with meat. Well, usually 2 of them get packed with meat, 1 with vegetation. Keeps a balanced diet. Okay, vegetation and fruit, by the way, fruit goes into either one. It helps with the digestion. Okay, and Grahn are also known, much like some animals, they are known to pop small rocks into their stomach to help grinding up the food. Okay, but this means that they only eat once every week or 2 weeks, depending on how much they can get. The bigger ones can get away sometimes with 3 weeks to a month. If you think of it this way, the bigger they are, obviously the bigger their stomach is. But they will eat whatever is available. They do tend to eat raw. And quite frankly, they don't tend to wait till the person's dead before they eat. Okay, because it's a simple case of tear it off, swallow it, and then let it break down. They don't do a lot in the way of chewing their food first. It's more like get it into the system and then take it with you. Okay, you will find, if you ever deal with them, they've got absolutely no sense of humor. Like, none. Okay, I don't think they actually even know what a sense of humor is. What they do have, though, is a very direct way of dealing with it. If they feel they're being insulted, they will absolutely retaliate. Now, they do believe, where it comes to spirituality, they believe in multiple gods in a hierarchy. They do have one at the top. Okay, but the rest of the gods are set up based on qualities. The god of strength, the god of weapons, the god of armor. Okay, this sort of thing. Okay, but it's qualities and skills that they are the gods of. Needless to say, with the Grahn, they just don't have that way inclined. Therefore, they don't exactly have a poetic side to them. Okay, they do have some troubadours. Okay, and that is something to hear. But their songs tend to be battle oriented. Okay, they don't tend. It's not a question of love songs. You'll never hear a love song out of a Grahn. At least not one that sounds like a love song. Their idea of courting is more a question of combat. In other words, I want that woman, and she belongs to that guy, so I'll go take it from him. Okay, and then you just go, I want that woman. He goes, no, and there's a physical fight. Whoever wins gets to take the woman. Okay, but again, we must stress the fact that with the Grahn, this is not a question of getting a hold of having a great big harem of people that you can do what you please to. Okay, it's a question of they hold their status based on the size of their own personal herd. And of course, the bigger the herd, the more often they end up in fights trying to maintain it, because other smaller herds will try and step in and take a cow or two. There is the issue of, can you kidnap one? Well, technically you could. They don't tend to, because the one that has their partner, their herd stolen, they'll go after you directly, and if they figure they can't take you out alone, they will go to other herds, or to other clans, other herds, call them the same thing, but they will team up with other clans and go, I've been robbed, this is what happened, and the other clans will go, well, it wasn't me, so let's go get it back for you. Okay, so they do cooperate in matters of theft. Okay, the idea of territory boils down to how much room is required, and usually the smaller clans are the ones who just move out of the way. It's easier. Besides that, if they don't move out of the way, the bigger clans tend to kill them off. So, as you can see, the Grahn have an extremely volatile way of life. But, on the whole, they're decent people. If you understand their way of life, you're fine. You just have to remember, the other thing with socializing, you can talk to any Grahn. It does not matter which. There is no hierarchy where you have to go and talk to the clan head before you can talk to one of the women, or to one of the other soldiers for that matter. You can talk to anybody you please. Matters of law have to be taken to the head of the clan. But you can talk to whoever you please. This is what sometimes happens, especially when you're dealing with the younger Grahn, as they come of age, younger Grahn are entitled to walk over to any of the younger Grahn that are not already claimed and go, I want that one for a mate. And that's where the mating choice comes in, is when they're younger, they can choose. But the thing with Grahn is they do mate for life. There's usually not any conflict to it unless two young Grahn want the same Grahn, at which point there is a battle. And they don't have battle to first blood, they only have battle to the death. At which point there's no question. You don't have problems with X's. Now, there is more information, and I do have it written down, but that gives you an idea of what the Grahn are. They are an ancient race. They did not evolve off planet and get dropped here. They evolved here. Now, this said, I'm going to bring this to a close, but so we'll try English. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, because there's a whole pile more races that are already laid out. If you look at the list right below the video, you'll find a list of a bunch of different ways of getting a hold of me. So drop me a line if you've got questions about a specific race, or if you've got questions about technology. Absolutely drop me a line and ask me. Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna leave it at this. Until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.